All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, welcome. If you are here to attend the college essay workshop for Plexuss, then you're in the right place. Today, you will leave today being more confident presenting a memorable college admissions essay. And so, I do ask you that that you mute your microphone and also your video as well. The only time that you'll have to speak is when I do ask for volunteers, but otherwise, um, having the microphones on mute will help us with the audio overall. So thank you very much. Before we get started, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Lauren Cristobal, and I'm a senior counselor here at Plexuss. Before working at Plexuss, I was a high school teacher for the past 5 years, and I worked as an English teacher working with 9th graders and 12th graders, and I also worked as an AVID teacher. I worked in other roles in education as well, but right now I'm at Plexuss and gladly helping students on a daily basis through the Plexuss platform and also doing these workshops as well. So also would like to say that I thank you in advance for your undivided attention and for your respect at this time. We really appreciate you being here and wanting to be a part of this workshop. We all know that you have busy schedules as students. And again, like I said, I will ask for participation once. And so you can either participate through the chat. You can on your bar or in your options, you should be able to open a chat window and you can type freely there. Or if I ask for vocal participation, then you can also turn on your microphone. All right. So some information before we start the actual workshop is we appreciate that you are here and we hope that you spread the word about future workshops to your friends and support them with their future successes. Hopefully they are also on the path to college and higher education. And so for you to spread around word about these workshops, maybe they'll be interested in attending the next one. And so there are 2 upcoming workshops. We know with the Thanksgiving holiday, we won't be having any workshops that week, but Wednesday, December 4th, if anyone you know missed this workshop, we'll be doing it again, and that's 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, and 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We also have, sorry. If you are in search for a letter of recommendation, we do hold a workshop about how to request for a letter of recommendation, and that will be on Thursday, December 5th, the day after the college essay workshop, and that's also 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, and 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I know that when you RSVP'd for the workshop, then you were asked to sign up for Plexuss. And I also want to encourage you to download the app if you haven't already. By having the app, then you will have access to instant notifications, especially if you are asking questions to my counselor through the chat. And if you have a positive experience using Plexuss, then please do rate us and review us. We really do appreciate your feedback. We'd love to hear either about your experience with this workshop or your experience using the site and its features. And I will remind you again about this information at the end of the workshop. So hopefully you have pen or paper and or a pencil, or you can also participate by just typing on the electronic device that you're using right now. So I'd like to start off the workshop by letting you know our objective. And by the end of the workshop, you will walk away with hands-on experience of writing and cultivating personal ideas for creating an essay that is authentic, powerful, and makes your essay get noticed. So with some college applications, an essay sometimes is required, and this is your opportunity for you to add value to your application by speaking about yourself to make yourself stand out through your own narrative. You have the control to share your story, and so that is the purpose of a college essay. And here today at the workshop, we hope to expand the focus of stories and experiences. We hope that you know that many of your experiences add up and influence to who the person you are today, and to also ensure that your authentic self also aligns with the prompt. And when I say prompt, I just mean essay question. So really what I'm saying here is that maybe you are really interested and focused on telling one story about yourself in your college essays, but we want to encourage you to understand that you are made up of many experiences and many stories, and maybe you should consider the ones that you're not considering now. But also, it's just really important that whatever story you tell answers the question, because um, it's going to um, hurt you and not benefit you if you go about your essay in a way that diverts from the question that you're being asked. So you won't leave here today with a full essay, but you'll leave here today, with the confidence uh, in the right direction. So here I am going to ask for your participation. And so here I ask that you either participate through your microphone or through the chat. You can type in that box. And so you can either say me or not me, but how many of you have been stumped when it comes to submitting your college admissions essay? Or how many of you are overwhelmed with the idea of having to write a college admissions essay? Oh, thank you very much, Kara, for raising your hand. Awesome. Yeah, and I'm sure Kara is not the only one, but thank you so much for your participation. Um, when it comes to your college essay and knowing that it is a significant factor, what college admissions are going to be looking at, then sometimes it's an overwhelming feeling that it's difficult to even start, knowing how important that aspect of our application is going to be. Here I want to show you an example, actually, and this is actually John F. Kennedy's application and his essay for Harvard. And so he says, the reasons that I have for wishing to go to Harvard are several. I feel that Harvard can give me a better background and a better liberal education than any other university. I have always wanted to go there, as I have felt that it is not just another college, but it is a university with something definite to offer. Then, too, I would like to go to the same college as my father. To be a quote, Harvard man is an enviable distinction and one that I sincerely hope I shall attain. So here in this college essay, although John F. Kennedy is an important historical figure, there's nothing really personal in this essay when it should be personal. All we get to really know through this excerpt is that John F. Kennedy's dad also went to Harvard. But reading through this, that's the only thing that I get to know about John F. Kennedy. And so something that I want to mention here is that, writing an essay, especially a personal statement, is not a natural skill, but it's actually a skill to be practiced. And it doesn't matter who you are, it does take time for you to sit down and write a college essay that you'll be confident submitting. So here I have two questions for you. You can speak through the chat or you can speak through your mic. But let's start with the first question. What are your strengths when it comes to writing an essay? What are things that you are good at? Writing about personal experiences. That's great. Some people have difficulty with this, but sometimes when it comes to talking about ourselves other than other subjects, then that comes easy for us. And it does for Kara, so thank you so much. Anyone else would like to add? And it doesn't have to be about college or your personal statement, but maybe a strength when you write a math essay or a history essay or even an English essay. What's something that you're good at? That's okay. Something that I'd like to share that I find that is common among high school students is that um, something that is a strength among high school students is writing with structure in mind. And so sometimes, right, when you hear the word essay, you think about an intro, a body, and a conclusion. You think about 5 paragraphs, or you think about having a thesis that drives the rest of the essay, right? And so just having that knowledge, even though it's something that's natural for you, that's something that you learned. And so you should also consider that as a strength. How about areas of improvement? What are ways we can do better, or things that we struggle with when it comes to writing an essay? Well, I think here, which is an area of improvement that we're going to address today in the workshop, is actually how to start or understanding the question. Sometimes we want to dive right in and start writing, but what's really important is that before we even do that, we need to even understand what it is that we need to write about so that we're actually moving in the right direction. All right. So I'm going to show you the instructions that we're going to follow for the rest of the workshop. So just to give you an idea of what we're going to look at is we're going to look at several college essay prompts. So these are questions that require a written response. And some of these are from common apps. Some schools require the common app. Some of the questions come from the UC college application, and those are the universities of California. And so when we look at what is being asked, what we want to do is we want to break it down. And how we're going to do that is we're going to underline keywords that signal the type of response the prompt is asking for. So we want to underline words in that prompt that tell us, okay, this is what I need to write about. I must write about it. If I don't, then I'm not really answering the question. The second thing that we want to do is usually, not even with college essays prompts, but also with scholarship prompts. A lot of the time, they're asking us to write about 6 topics. It could be one of the 6 topics or a multiple of the 6, but typically we are asked to discuss either our passion, our community, our work, growth, mistakes, or struggles. So we're going to look at 3, and I'm going to model the first one. So this may be a prompt that you might have to write a college essay about or respond to. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. So the first thing I want to do is I want to underline keywords in this essay prompt that signal to me that I must talk about this, or else my essay is off to the wrong direction. So here, I'm just looking at my notes, making sure that I have everything, is I want to underline background. One second. Background. Identity is also a keyword. Interest, talent. I also want to highlight or underline or. So some students may look at this prompt and think, I have to talk about my background and my identity and my interest and my talents. But really, with the word or, they're only asking you to talk about one of those four things. You're limited a lot of the time with the amount of words that you can use to respond to this prompt. And so you don't want to talk about all 4. It's actually better and best to only talk about one. So it's your choice, whether that's your background or your identity or an interest of yours or a talent of yours. I also want to underline the word meaningful and then incomplete. Actually, incomplete without it, really. And story. Right? If I look at these underlined words, I need to talk about a meaningful background, my meaningful identity, right? My talent, I'm incomplete without it. And I want to share that story about my interest or about my talent or about my identity. So with those keywords in mind, right, what kind of prompt is this? What am I supposed to be discussing to respond to this example number one? And here, I think that it is my passions. I also think it's my community. And I also think it's my growth. So here, passions can relate to a talent or an interest. Your community can relate to the background, your background or your identity. And that identity connects to a community that you belong to. And then your growth can relate to your talent or your identity. Talent meaning maybe you are a musician and you started off knowing nothing, but now you're a master at that instrument. Or maybe you grew in your identity because maybe you didn't really embrace that identity at first, but now it's become such an integral part of you that you're incomplete without it and you're proud to have the identity. So again, following the instructions, we underlined the keywords and we also identified out of these 6 what kind of prompt this was. All right, let's look at example number 2. So this essay prompt is asking, the lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you and what did you learn from the experience? So I'm gonna ask here for your participation in the chat, if you can let me know what are some keywords in this prompt? What signals to you the words that are important for you to address in your essay? Obstacles, great. What else? Even when looking at the first sentence, the lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. What are some keywords in that first sentence? So we don't just want to talk about our obstacles, right? We want to know what lessons we learned from those obstacles. And so if we learned a lesson from that obstacle, what does that lead to? Yes, later success. And let's look at the second sentence. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. What are some key words in that second sentence? I'm going to underline challenge as the first one. I think setback is also another way to look at challenge, and so is failure. I think they gave us some options so that we can, you know, identify what we think are challenges or what we think are failures, because maybe we think those in our lives are different things. or different experiences. And then I'm going to just jump to the third sentence is how did it affect you and what did you learn from the experience? So I think affect you. And what did you learn? And what did you learn kind of ties to the beginning of the prompts where it's talking about lessons and also how did it affect you, right? So we don't want to just jump straight into, you know, I no longer see it as a failure and this is what I learned, right? Because sometimes failures and challenges can be really negative on our lives. And so we don't want to brush that aside, but actually describe how that affected us because that's not just something that goes away, but you know, can change our perspective in a growing way. All right, so what kind of prompt is this? Are we supposed to be talking about our passions here, our community, work, growth, mistakes, and struggles? I think there are 3 here. What do you guys think? Well, I first think that we need to address our mistakes, right? When we fail or when we are having a challenge or a setback, that might have been a mistake, right? Or a stumble. I also think that, this is also speaking to our struggles. And then I also think that this is talking about our growth. And so here, when we're talking about the lessons that we learned from the challenges or the setbacks or the failures that we encounter, right? Then, and we were successful later on, then it's definitely dealing with the growth that we experienced. All right, so let's look at our last example. Example number 3. Think about an academic subject that inspires you. Describe how you have furthered this interest inside and or outside of the classroom. So I'm going to go ahead and just share with you what I think the keywords are here. So I think academic subject. Oops, sorry. I also think inspires. And then further this interest. And I'm going to say, not necessarily, but they do want to know how you further this interest, but keep in mind they're talking about whether that's inside or outside of the classroom. All right, and also, what are the prompt types here? What is it that we need to speak about? So I think here we're asked to talk about our work. I also think that we're here to talk about our passions, right? If we're asked to talk about an academic subject that inspires us, then it obviously is a passion of ours. And I also think that we're also here to talk about community, right? Maybe that this academic subject inspires you because it allowed you to become a part of the community. Maybe it's talking about your work and, if you're really passionate about English, maybe that inspired you to take that work outside of the classroom and do this project that, involves many, many people. That's not just the people in your classroom. So with those 3 examples, I do want us to practice with our own experiences so that you find this valuable. So here we're looking at the examples that we just looked at, example 1, example 2, and example 3. And what I want you to do, and I'm going to give you 3 minutes to do this, is for every example, I want you to identify an experience or multiple experiences from your own life based on the underlying keywords and the prompt type. So, for example, one, whether that's on your electronic device or on your own piece of paper, what I want you to do is, what is an experience or a story that you can tell, or something in your own life that relates to example one. Then I want you to identify an experience or a story from your own life that directly responds to example two, and then do the same with example three. And if you are having trouble thinking about what part of your life or what story in your life relates, maybe if you start off with when I, then that will inspire and make you think of a specific moment in your life. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes. I'll give you a warning of when the time is getting closer to the end. And if you have any questions, then please feel free to ask me in the chat. So 3 minutes, follow the directions on the screen, and then we'll come back. All right, hopefully that was enough time. And the second thing that I'm going to have you do on your own is, looking at these three examples, I want you to choose only one, and I want you to expand your narrative. So choose only one to write about, not all three. And I do want you to write in sentences or bullet points, but I want you to write as much as possible. I don't want you to think about writing incorrect grammar. Just focus on letting your natural thoughts flow onto the page. And Keep in mind the key terms that are underlined. Keep in mind the type of prompt that it is, but choose just one. And I want you to write as much as you can after you choose which one you want to write about. And I'm going to give you 4 minutes. And after those 4 minutes, then I will ask for a volunteer. I would love to have a volunteer, but I do understand if you prefer not to. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the chat. And those 4 minutes start now. A minute and 25 seconds. All right, hopefully those 4 minutes allowed you at least the start of, addressing one of these prompts and feeling more confident knowing exactly what you need to write about so that you're on topic and is direct response. I do want to ask if there is anyone who would like to share what they wrote so far. I would need you to turn on your microphone, but I also understand if today is not the day for you to share. In that case, I did also take those 4 minutes, just to put myself into the shoes of a high school student. And I think, just with these 3 examples, I would choose example number 3. I wrote down that English is an academic subject that inspires me. It inspires me because it is pertinent in our daily lives, and it is utilized in every single career, even if it's not related to, English and the way we think of it, whether that's doctors, lawyers, business people, those who are in the visual and performing arts. It's a way to shape your voice and make sure that you're heard. I think that in English, we learn how powerful our stories are, because by sharing one story, then we can realize that we're not alone and that we're not the only person, going through that experience, and that there are other people who are just like us. It helps us to learn. And so it really helped me question, my importance, and know that I am important, that my stories is also important, not just the ones that we consider great, authors who are taught year after year, but rather that, the people in the room and our peers around the room are also valuable in our lives. So, our stories deserve to be told as well. So after the workshop, you're shortly going to receive an email. We appreciate you being here today with us, and for attending. And there are going to be 3 attachments in that email. The first one is going to be a handout, and I'm going to, talk about what is in that handout. There's also going to be a sample essay written by a real student. So the essay that you will have will be related to example 1. And then also, if you'd like to practice with more essay prompts, underlining the key words and also identifying what type of prompt that is, there are plenty of other examples in that practice sheet that you'll receive. So in that handout, we do want you to walk away with these takeaways, and that is, am I being asked about my passions, my growth, my work, my mistakes, my struggles, or my community? Secondly, if there's one experience I really want to share, is there a relevant prompt that allows me to do so? And lastly, personal essays do not have to be dramatic, but is what I wrote enough for someone to understand who I am, right? We don't have to go through these dramatic or traumatic experiences in our lives for us to stand out, but really, are we telling enough so that the person who's reading about us actually understands who we are? A couple other things in the handout is some resources on Plexuss that you are free to access. And so the first one are real essays from real students that tell compelling narratives. They are the essays that they submitted when they submitted their college applications. And you can also see what other colleges they got accepted to or denied with that essay. Some other useful tips, there's an article there on how to write your college essay. So not just about how to break down the prompts or what kind of prompt it is, but other things and other tips in mind when you write your college essay. And also, there's support 7 days a week from a live counselor through my counselor. You can ask a question if you have a question about this workshop, if you have a question about your own college essay, or if you have any questions about college, whether that's where to go or what financial aid options are available for you, then you can do that through the My Counselor chat on Plexuss. And then lastly, there is an opportunity that we want to inform of you today, and that is to be a Plexuss ambassador. So if any of you are interested in a career or would just like to get more experience in marketing, promotion, advertising, then look at the handout for more detailed information. But if that's something that you would like to be a part of, then you can email me at lauren.cristobal@plexuss.com, and then also just include why this position or opportunity is of interest to you. And again, like I said at the beginning, that we do have other workshops and we are offering this workshop again. So if you know anyone that would like to attend the workshop today that wasn't here, then we are offering it again, not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after on December 4th, same time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, and 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you're interested on how to request for a letter of recommendation, we're also offering that on Thursday, December 5th, but we're actually also offering that tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you are interested in that, there's still time to RSVP and attend tomorrow. Otherwise, you do have the opportunity on Thursday, December 5th. I do encourage you, after you signed up, after you've used the app or Plexuss, to download the app so that you have it on your phone. You are notified instantly, especially if you're using the My Counselor chat. And then also, we really would appreciate it if you give us a written review and you rate our app. We do appreciate your feedback, whether that's constructive or positive, so that way we know how to move forward in the best way possible. Before we end today, do any of you have any questions? All right, well, thank you again for your undivided attention, for your participation, and we do hope to see you at another Plexuss workshop. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.